For the last 24 years, Dr. Ken Ochiza Besigye has been in the trenches of politics. I mean, tear gassed, beaten, and even charged with, of course, rape and treason. The question is, as Dr. Ken Ochiza Besigye goes through with consultations around the country, is he going to form a new political party? Maybe that is even out of question. Maybe he's definitely going to. The question is his political revival really going to shake anything? Or with the status quo? Dr. Ken Ochiza Besigye is back after 24 years. Does he need to reinvent himself? Does he need to appeal even more to the young population? That is definitely going to be a factor in the next election. That's a question we're asking tonight. This is the NBS Media Roundtable, but not just that. Since 2001, John Muwanga has been the Auditor General, and he will be retiring the next 3 months. And, well, according to Parliament, they are suggesting that he should be given a service award of 500 million shillings. A service award. Is Parliament really setting a very costly precedent? Because, I mean, everyone who will go to government and serve as a government officer are most likely going to ask for this. Or are they just going to justify the 500 million shillings to the Auditor General with that of Matthias Mpuga? And later on, we'll be, of course, looking into issues of Nambole Stadium. Why has that stadium remained undone despite being worked on with the UPDF Engineering Brigade? I have a terrific panel to discuss all this, and I'll introduce my panel in just a bit. This is the NBS Media Roundtable. Welcome all of you watching in Uganda and around the world. This is the NBS Media Roundtable. My name is Kanare Mugume, and this is the NBS Media Roundtable. I have a terrific panel to discuss all this. We'll do better next time. Nelson Kapoor, of course, this feels like, you know, an NBS newsroom reunion. Yeah. You don't know how the audience online, well, apart from Joel. Who I used to appear with years ago on the hot seat on some radio in Namongo. But Nelson Kapoor, Sabit Joseph, Joel Mukisa, and Solomon Serwanja, good to have you on the show.
Good to have you. Thank you so much for inviting us. And I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Gentlemen, good to have you on the show.
A pleasure as well.
Yeah, let's begin with Besigye's political revival. Looking at some of the rallies he's been here, we look at, of course, Kabale, Rukunjiri, Mbara, and he's now set to even coming closer to Eastern Uganda. And then the Central, I don't know how things will look like when he goes to areas of Teso, where FDC has been quite a big factor, but also where Amriat is so strong, and yet the two are no longer meeting. Nelson, in your own opinion, Besigye's political revival, the reborn, or the having Dr. Ken Ochiza Besigye back in active politics, what I want to ask is that things have shifted, and definitely not in his favor. Last time he stood as president, he was standing against a man who had been in power and had served with him. And now he's standing where his son is the chief, is the CDF. The question is, as much as dynamics have shifted and not suddenly really in his favor, the question is, does Besigye need to reinvent himself? Those rallies can mean a thing or two. Can mean that he does have support, can also mean that people just missed him.
Okay, thank you, Kanare. Now, first of all, Besigye has made recently he's made comments that he's not coming in 2026. But this is not the first time he's saying it, so I won't take him by his word. The rallies definitely mean he's up to something. But Besigye is at a place now where it's like someone who sells pancakes, and then they lose clients because the pancakes are not sweet. And then he comes back and says, I will change the shape. Then he makes them triangular. And he thinks he will get back the people. So Besigye's situation now, surely, It is very immoral. It is very bad for in African tradition to write people's someone's obituary when they are still alive. But as far as I am concerned, as far as I understand, Besigye's political career should be really on its deathbed. I don't understand how he intends to run around it, but I am very certain that if he's not coming back through his own means of People's Government, Red Card Foundation, and whatever party they may come up with, Besigye may find somewhere to fit, and he needs to be led this time around. So
that's an interesting perspective, Nelson, that I think that we should query. What do you mean he should be? Has he lost the what my boss in the newsroom calls it the political oomph?
The political oomph. Besigye is even when you see the crowds, the people have been showing us these crowds. This is so far below what Besigye is been and what we've known him for. But we can blame that on the fact that for some time there has not been any political activity. And you see people are also gearing up for the political campaigns. So anyone who comes now, that will be like a curtain raiser. People will come. We are going to see very many crowds for everybody who goes. Even now, if Katumba goes, he will find a few people there, ready waiting for him. People are gearing up. This is like Kasiki. Everybody wants to partake. But do not take it from Besigye. He has a certain form of support that has always been there, that is always there, and they are willing to go with him. They are just reducing for now. So I believe Besigye's support now are the people who have always wanted him, and a few excited people who expect political campaigns soon.
Let me rephrase your words maybe. A few people who are desperate for change. That people are so tired of this NRM government that has been on for now clocking almost 40 years, that they are so desperate for change that whoever shows up, and in your own words, even if it's Katumba Oye, that they will be happy to support him.
There's a difference between people who are desperate for change and those who are desperate for the resumption of political activity. You see, political activity comes with its own fanfare. It comes with its own flair. You come around, you are in a caravan, and everybody is like, oh yeah, and
you can't be desperate for political activity. It doesn't come with balloons and gifts.
No, it comes with driving in, you drive in, borders following you up, and everybody, we don't have a very busy populace. So people will go either way, and they will keep reducing as more people come to the field. Yes.
Sabi, just let me bring in here. Besigye started the revolution for change. In fact, Daniel Kanaki does write about this revolution, the unfinished revolution, and does mention how even like, Mr. Museveni puts him into a state of being so desperate that he closes all his businesses. And I remember in that book, Dr. Besigye telling his wife, Winnie Byanyima, that I'm going to start a piggery here because this piggery is the only thing that is going to fund this revolution unless all the other people come on board. But for now, I'm going to start this piggery. It's the only thing that President Museveni is not going to interfere with. Maybe he's returning to finish what he started.
And did you believe that the piggery was going to fund that? Well, I think that our senior Dan Kalinaki was writing a book for Kano Besigye and saying that a piggery project in Kasangati was going to fund a political fight against General Museveni was, I think, an icebreaker in the book that you shouldn't take literally. I hold a slightly different view from Nelson Kapo. I have said here before that the most credible and strongest opposition to General Museveni in the last also years has been Kano Besigye. Just get up and walk on the streets of Kampala from the last general elections and tell me what political activity has been happening. There have been more flights abroad, meetings with the LGBT rights activists, fundraising, concerts in London and concerts in South Africa. Those are the political activities that have been happening. And when you ask questions, they tell you, I have gone to tell those people that General Museveni is bad. Those people have the intelligence capacity to profile and tell the world what General Museveni is and what he's not. You don't need to go and sing in London to go and to tell them what General Museveni is The British intelligence, the CIA, the FBI are all over Africa and have their footmarks here. So Kano Besigye took a sabbatical, I think from when the FDC fronted a joker for the presidential ballot. Of course, they blame it on him because they wanted him on the ballot. With all due respect to the Honorable Patrick Amuriato Boy, filling Besigye's shoes was like my daughter trying to wear my suit. It will end up a Gomesi and things like that. So Dr. Besigye's being a bit passive and not at the front line of politics could have impacted on his abilities and his acumen. But he's one person I know that if he returned to the presidential ballot, for example, would change the look of things. For example, how the voting patterns in Acholi, in West Nile, in Teso, in the rest of the country outside Buganda will be significantly affected. And also, to his credit, it's not easy to stay on the political scene for about how many years now?
24 years.
About 24 years, yes. And to still be able to get the name recognition and the crowd pulling capacity that Dr. Besigye brought. For me,
about that capacity, Joseph,
yes.
You covered Dr. Besigye in 2016. You know how much, of course, power that he came with and the charisma that he had then. Things have changed. We are now going to have, you know, a very, when I look at the figures, I look at 80% of the voting population going to be young people. They are going to determine that vote. Dr. Besigye in 2016, right from 2001, was appealing to a certain population. And now the voting patterns have changed. Do you think that perhaps he needs to... The other day, Timothy Kareja sent me a message while I was on the Big Talk and said that perhaps Dr. Besigye needs to hire some Americans or people from the UK to refocus his political message, or else he's as good as nothing.
You see, I have said this, I've been abused for this. I am a realist. I am no longer in fantasy of elections and this. I have said all things constant with General Museveni on the ballot. He will hand over, General Museveni will hand over power to General Museveni in 2026. So whether you discuss Dr. Besigye reinventing himself and everything, we are basically having a conversation on who will be the leading opposition, who will be the biggest opposition leader. I am very convinced, all things constant, General Museveni will be handing over to General Museveni in the next election. I also stated previously, that there will be no time when the House of Yoweri will run against the House of Yoweri. So I had already written off General Muhoozi from being on the presidential ballot in the next election. The question of who will be the country's biggest opposition leader is maybe what we can discuss.
That is also sorted.
That also looks obvious.
What do you mean looks obvious?
Well, the status quo is likely to stay. Yes. Unless something significant happens. If Dr. Besigye is not on the presidential ballot, then we are here having we are having a catch-up with Canary. How have you been since we were away and things like that. Nothing significant will change in the political landscape.
Joel, let me bring in here, and I saw you writing a lot about the in the Monitor about the presidential petitions. What I want to understand is that everyone at least feels as if the transition is near. And if you look at how the Chiefs are moving, they're moving towards everyone positioning themselves towards, of course, they want to be in position if that transition happens. I've spoken to a number of MPs, they feel like the 12th Parliament will be a very, very significant Parliament where transition will happen in those 5 years between 2026 and 2031. Do you think that Dr. Besigye is looking at this, but also most importantly, that he's coming to fill a vacuum?
Thank you so much, Canary. I believe that Dr. Besigye is filling a vacuum. That's right. A vacuum that has been left by the Bobby Wines, and temporarily it has been occupied by Spire Sentongo leading, and the Agatha. As you see, even what Spire Sentongo is doing even caused mess within NOP itself. So Dr. Besigye is occupying this space and perhaps looking for... I think Besigye has matured in his politics. He doesn't look at the ballot as something that can change, or the ballot as a place where you can beat President Museveni. I think he's looking for those revolutionary moments that Kyagulanyi missed, i.e. his arrest in Luka when citizens go on the streets and start protesting, The guy just continues running on the campaign trail as if nothing has happened. This was a moment for him, I believe, to leave the campaign, to call off the campaign and say, I've left Mr. Museveni to compete against himself. And we would want to see what happened right there. When his supporters are arrested, he's a guy who says, I'll go to court. When he's put in house arrest in Magere, Kyagulanyi does not call his supporters to say, guys, come and release me. That's what we're waiting for. You know, that thing of Magere Kubigere, of the Honorable Zake. It was only Zake actually who was standing up, only Honorable Zake. And now I see Nope engaged in this fancy nonsense of alternative budget. Oh my goodness, someone knows his budget very well. Why are you involved in those procedure nothing? There's something bogus I used to call the alternative budget, pardon my French. And it's all just useless, it's empty. So Besigye is looking at these revolutionary moments where you're almost bombing Bobi Wine, and it just continues, with his way on the trail. So for me, I think Dr. Besigye is coming to occupy and look for these small but very key revolutionary moments, which he thinks that Noop perhaps has missed.
Joel, the question is why?
Why?
Why would he be wanting to exploit moments like this? For what reason?
No, for regime change. Besigye believes, I don't believe like him, but he believes that the change of regime in Uganda will come with some good. And that's what he has always believed. Interviewed people who are close to him all the years, and they'll tell you that if you wake Besigye up in the night, his thing is not policy in Uganda. It's just that if the apex changes the apex of power in Uganda, and I believe he's also a megalomaniac like Museveni, it takes one to see one, and that is why he can't sit well. Plus, I also think
who has to be the regime changer.
Yes, but I also believe that Kano Kizza Besigye is coming within this context and now. So it is, I don't think actually he's coming, because I did not agree with you to say he's reviving himself. Besigye has been around. He has been around. He told us to beat Sefuria and we refused. So he never left. It's only that now the vacuum is becoming clear.
Told us to do what? Bang saucepans.
Yes.
Bang saucepans.
Yes, we refused.
Every midday.
Yeah, because there was someone bigger that time. He never had the.
But even the bigger person joined the Sufuria campaign. What happened?
Everybody.
The Honorable Kyagulanyi joined the Beat Saucepan campaign.
Yeah,
Yes,
Naboze
but-
did.
yeah.
In Mukono, everyone was.
So with fairness to Kano
But
Besigye,
we're not hearing the sound.
even the big
Okay.
boy of the dead did
We're not
join.
hearing the sound. So
Yeah.
for me, by and large, Besigye is occupying a space, which space he had left. And I don't know whether it will amount to much, but I think in the next 2 years, 2 years is a very long time politically, especially with Noop's internal strife and things of that sort. 2 years is a really big time. But also, I disagree with Sabiti and Nelson in their reading of history. Oh my goodness, history has been set, the iron laws of history, this is going to happen in 2026. You know, I read history as full of contradictions, spaces of ruptures and things of that sort. So for me, history is not set in iron laws. History is something that happens all the time.
No, and I think what they were trying to say is that they can look at history and be able to use it probably to predict the future.
But that is
What-
reading
what-
TTL, that's reading the
What we
space.
were telling him is the normal journalism story. They say the more things change,
Mhm.
The more they remain the
stay
same.
Yeah, but that could be rubbish itself. Sorry to say, because things actually are changing. For example, those who are looking for a transition, I've not seen a younger cabinet than Museveni has right now. He's under the pressures. Even if you look at the NRM itself is changing, and the demand for General Muhoozi, oh my goodness, it's not because they love General Muhoozi so much. It's rather because the NRM is looking for a safe way out to
Okay.
cajole him out of power.
Okay, in a bit we'll discuss how 2026 is shaping up. Solomon, let me bring in here. After 24 years, you've covered Besigye for 15 years. Out of the 24 years, he's been
man,
in
is
the
that
political
old?
trenches.
15.
I've actually been doing journalism for the last 15 years.
Yeah. And Besigye has been in the political trenches.
Let's say that. But thanks for having me.
But let me
Firstly,
ask this question. What is Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye, retired Kano, really going to offer to Ugandans? Really, his political revival that everyone thinks is going to shake the status quo?
Dr. Kizza Besigye, just like Joseph said, is a big political name in this country. He has been in the trenches. He has fought for democracy. He has led campaigns like Walk to Work. He has been there. He has taken on President Yoweri Museveni. In fact, President Museveni's biggest political rival throughout history has been Dr. Kizza Besigye, largely because they were together in the revolution, but he also put up a very strong resistance up to now. Dr. Kizza Besigye's thinking right now is not so much for him to win the presidency. I don't think so. I think that Dr. Kizza Besigye's move right now is to revive the Forum for Democratic Change across the country. You may be aware that FDC has been going through turmoil. The divisions within the party, everything is disorganized, and that has led to its popularity significantly dropping. Dr. Kizza Besigye, as one of the founding members of the Forum for Democratic Change, cannot sit back to see a party that he paid with sweat and blood collapsing and being shattered by perhaps a new party like the National Unity Platform. He has the responsibility of keeping the Forum for Democratic Change alive. And just like Joseph said, the previous people who took over power in the FDC have seen the party's numbers come down significantly. Dr. Kizza Besigye clearly knows that General Yoweri Museveni cannot be put off the presidency through a ballot, and he has mentioned that so many times. But what he cannot stand is that a young party of less than 5 years taking leadership in the opposition of this country. And so his return to active politics is bigger than what we're just seeing that he's looking at the presidency. Dr. Kizza Besigye wants to reclaim his seat and the seat of the Forum for Democratic Change as an opposition political party in this country that Ugandans need to associate with. And so for me, I think that largely, and everyone has wanted Dr. Kizza Besigye to come back because he's seen as the political figure for the Forum for Democratic Change. I mean, when we saw General Mugisha Muntu come through during his tenure as FDC, he was more of building party structures. Amuriat Patrick Oboy, I don't know how, I know the word Joseph used was a joker. I don't know if I would want to hit him that hard, but
how would you describe
Dr. Kizza Besigye right now?
So how would you describe the Honorable Patrick Amuriat Oboy?
I think he has had his tenure at the Forum for Democratic
Well, let me
Change.
tell you about a story about Patrick Amuriat Oboy. He was an emergency candidate. They said, so wait, if this is not going to field the candidate, the party president said, I'll go.
I'll take off my
I'll
shoes.
take off my shoes.
So largely,
No, police did.
so largely, Dr. Kizza Besigye is looking at a falling Forum for Democratic Change party.
Solomon,
He
beyond
has-
beyond just FDC,
So he's-
we're at a time when the National Unity Platform is going through a very hard time. So is FDC, Democratic Party, and the UPC. Maybe it's just coming to say,
Which problem is the UPC
You get
having?
it wrong with, there's a lot of, UPC I think has understood that its geographical strength is in Lango, the homeland of the founding party leader. And Kapo will testify that Dokolo was not just an accident. There's a lot of deliberate attempt to actually rally the Lango sub-region around the Uganda People's Congress.
And oh my goodness,
yes.
this lady who won the election was putting on this Gomez with Obote's picture.
Yes.
I didn't know that history would be revised in this fashion, that Obote would be such a popular figure.
no, I mean not just Dokolo, even Oyam South. But what I'm saying is that with
But
what is going
still
on
they
within
have
the
a few
opposition,
problems in
or maybe Dr. Besigye is coming to say, you know what, I can be the unifying factor.
Well, the conversation of unity right now cannot stand because when you call for unity, you must come with something on the table. Right now, the National Unity Platform feels like we have it all, and we may not necessarily need any other political party to go. So what Dr. Kizza Besigye right now needs is to reawaken that giant in the Forum for Democratic Change by going back to the grassroots and reminding people of what Forum for Democratic Change stands for.
But
he
Solomon,
comes in at a time.
But Solomon, I'm sorry to cut you short, but what it looks like is that after these consultative meetings, Besigye is going to form a new party, not necessarily revive the lion inside the FDC.
It is not going to happen.
How is he?
Dr. Kizza Besigye will not, and
Why?
I can bet my hand on that.
I thought that
Why?
was written in black and white because
Yeah.
that's what it looks
why
like.
do you think
Dr. Kizza Besigye cannot form a new political party.
why would
Let me give you this new information. Nanda Mafabi is going to run for president, and they are already even trying to form campaign messages for him. He's not going to go back to his constituency. I know that for a fact. They know that at least if they remobilize people around his candidature and then get a number of MPs, Dr. Kizza Besigye is definitely not a factor within what they're planning around.
Dr. Kizza, with all the challenges that are going on within the Front for Democratic Change Party, Dr. Kizza Besigye is not about to give up on the Front for Democratic Change Party.
So
That
would
is
make a
why-
you make a good pastor.
No.
you are selling so much hope.
You're selling false hope, my brother.
I'm just being, well, this is just my view.
Oh,
and
okay.
maybe you can challenge it with your own view. But I'm saying for the party that Dr. Kizza Besigye formed,
By the way, it is not
when
true that
it's
he formed
in,
it.
well, he was one of the founding
He was
fathers
one of them.
of the Front for Democratic Change. You want to challenge that?
No, Besigye was not around when they were forming FDC. The FDC just goes and picks him in South Africa. He was not around. Of course, you can say in the initial period when the party had already formed, but Besigye,
You can say he's a founding president at
yeah,
least.
did
No,
not.
he was
begin.
one of the members in that South African meeting.
But the meeting.
No, South Africa, they just go for him. Their guys here had already sat.
No, but you see, Joel is attempting to divorce FDC from reform agenda. You can't.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't.
It's one
You
thing.
can't- You can't.
Reform agenda
That's a vain
from
attempt.
PAFO, all
Yes.
that.
No, before even you get to
Before
PAFO,
you go to
the
PAFO.
reform agenda of 2001,
Yeah.
that is the crust of FDC.
It just ran into
So any
PAFO
attempt
and
to
You-
divorce,
you can't
yes, you
divorce
can't do that.
reform
So
All right,
I agree
folks,
with Seranda.
let's take a
Front for
break.
Democratic
When we
Change.
return, through the eyes of the journalists who have covered these politics for more than a century, how is 2026 shaping up? Is it true that the more things change, the more they remain the same? We'll talk about that in just a bit, but also we'll look at this whole new thing in town called Service Award. What does it mean? Is it setting a very costly precedent, especially for the government of Uganda? Is it a new way or new trend of getting money out of the state coffers? All that after this short commercial break. My name is Kanare Muguma, and you are watching the NBS Media Roundtable, looking into the politics of this country, current affairs, and I have a terrific panel of journalists, columnists, political pundits, whatever you want to call it, to discuss all this. Nelson Kapo, Sabit Joseph, Joe Mukisa, and Solomon Serwanja. We're here looking into what the future holds for this country. We don't even talk about it. It means that we're not even concerned about it. So let's talk about it. How is 2026 really shaping for the politics of this country? Nelson, you have, well, they have said they are not even a political party, PLU, but I've seen even now they are in a tournament. I see a group that has qualified for the quarterfinals of the PLU League. He's going to be playing against the Ghetto Youth. Quite interesting. But putting that on the side, you have internal strife going on in the National Unity Platform with how Matthias Mpuga is most likely, the saga is most likely going to turn out, and now the Democratic Party with Mao refusing to hand over the party that they have asked him and remain serving the NRM government, but also FDC. I know for a fact that Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye, with all these consultations, is going to end in forming a new political party. How do you see 2026 shaping
But are
in
you
your
sure
eyes?
about that?
He has his
I thought I
sources.
said that I know it for a
Everything
fact.
ends.
No, I said I know
He
it
has
for
his sources. But you see, Canary,
No, I have hosted political shows, and I can tell you the number of MPs I've hosted from the Katonga group, they speak with one language, that they are going to end up forming a new political party.
Canary, I want to caution you against taking MPs and politicians for the award. When the parliamentary elections come, everybody will be looking for how they can be re-elected.
it's a survival mode.
It's a survival mode. Don't overtrust them.
Nelson,
Although-
2026.
Canary, 2026, I had earlier said that things do not change really like people expect. And the biggest student of history and how history works has been President Museveni. If you look at the pattern of which parties have been forming and going to the next election, you can understand that he has studied at what point of time will a party be at its weakest, at what point in time will the party dissolve. Now, we go back, first of all, to bring this to better perspective. I want us to look at how parties have been running during Museveni's reign. During Museveni's time, in this Museveni's regime, how parties have been running. When Besigye came in 2001, he came on the basis he did not want anything else but change the person up. And he actually, his posters were yellow. In 2001, Besigye ran a campaign on yellow posters.
Because we're under the movement system.
And he was called the alternative movementist. So his idea was, and General Museveni was also aware that, well, if Besigye comes for me, he fails to get me, the next point will be, where do I run to get myself into a vehicle that I can go this direction? So PAFO, Reform Agenda come together, FDC come, and still the agenda was the man on top needs to go out. Now, how parties are formed here is that, first of all, parties are first formed from a point of disgruntlement. There's no party, apart from the old traditional parties, there's no party that has been formed in this Museveni era that is not a party based on disgruntled people. The NUP was formed after, because you've been interviewing these guys, they said the point of separation between the Katanas, the Lewis Davids, was because Museveni decided to remove the age limit, and they were done. The point of separation for the FDC to form with the Reform Agenda and the PAFO was because Museveni removed the term limits. So it is always a point, first of all, we are disgruntled, so we need to go. And what happens is that whenever Museveni sees disgruntled people, he first finds out who is their leader, makes the leader popular. When the FDC formed, he looked for the leader and arrested him. Besigye became very popular. Tara, 30%. When the NUP formed, he looked who is their leader. Bobby Wine, arrest him.
And all of a sudden, treason became a thing.
And also treason became a thing. So after he would become popular, then since your idea for which you formed the party was standing on an individual, of course internal strife develops. By 2000 and the next election after Besigye, it was a very miserable performance in the books. And I also expect NUP, after 30 and more percent, it will go down. Why? Because Museveni expects that this person has been made popular. He's a point of jealousy for all the other people within the party. And therefore, everybody now, what is formed out of disgruntlement, what is formed to take power, is killed by power within. Why? Because now there is a power struggle. Now what happens after that, Museveni is aware that now when you get this disgruntlement, now you start separating. Besigye started the people government, red card movement. Wait for what will happen with NUP. Mpuga will also go back to Subi, ABCDE, and what will happen later, he will come for the other residues of the party, take them back to NRM. What is happening all this while is that while these people separate, he's building more. Museveni does not chase. That's why Mao is not interested in handing over a party. It's because it's the only thing he brings to NRM, the party. Therefore, what will happen to Mpuga? If the only thing he brings to NRM is Subi, then he will come. And he has started, President Museveni took 20 years trying to be in power. Even power would come to his feet and he kicks it away. Why? Because for some reason, if Museveni took power before 1986, he would not have stayed until now. Because the factors in the political situation was still in hot water. Therefore, let it pass. And that is what other people are not seeing.
Nelson,
that's what the other
Nelson,
parties are not seeing.
from where you sit,
Yes.
right? When you sit at plot 1 in Entebbe, what's the general feeling? That 2026 is done. I remember Sabit and I sitting in the newsroom during COVID, and then we say, we're going to cover an election whose results we know. Do you have the same feeling at plot 1 in Entebbe that, well, everything is done, we're just going through just the usual? It's like a what? Like a ritual?
Yesterday we had the SEC sat, and the SEC was discussing how big now the numbers are. 18.5 million.
18.3.
An election is always won by the party in power the moment they declare how many people they have on their register. The moment we come out and the party comes out and says we have 18.5 million people on the register, how many people are on the national register? There will be about 20 point something. Therefore, in future, how do you come up and start saying that this party did not win the power, but they have 18.5 million? And they're actually setting the precedent saying we have 18.5 million. Journalists are not going to go and ask where these people are. But if such a party comes up and say we got 7 million, they'll even be angry and they say, but we told you we had 18.5. So the election is always won the moment the ruling party anywhere declares how many people are subscribed to them.
Thank you, Kapo, for that insight.
Joseph, history begins and falls within 7 years.
Of course.
Well, at least for the last 40 years.
That's the reality of your life.
Yeah, especially him.
Take it or leave it.
Joseph, what does the chessboard look like from where you sit?
There's no chessboard. A few players running about here and there. Canary, I have said, all things constant, General Museveni will be president in 2026. The political moves to watch are the fights for the constituency and the desperate survival techniques that the parliamentary candidates will employ. Everybody, forget these guys, if you see someone consistently beginning to wear a red beret, they don't love the National Unity Platform that much. They are calculating how to secure the party card, and if the wave is still strong, to return to parliament. The National Unity Platform, in my view, has reached its peak. And in my culture, when you climb the mango tree, you either come down slowly or you fall. If someone comes and scares you, hey, you will fall down. But if they don't scare you, you slowly come down where it belongs. My call is that the NRM will have an absolute majority in the House, so therefore they'll pick the House leadership. The numbers of the National Unity Platform will reduce. If you look at, I've taken interest in studying certain trends in the Buganda sub-region where the wave was very strong. I have an interest in Maokota to see what the return of Amelia Chambade will have for the NUP. John Chrysostom Muyingo in Luero, Vincent Bamulanze Chisempija in the Greater Masaka. So I think that as political reporters, we need to start looking at these individual constituencies. Mohamed Nsereko was able to say, go to hell Bobby Wine and win Kampala Central amidst all the controversies. So he went against the wave, returned to the House. Nakaseke still has a woman MP who is on NRM ticket. You look at candidates like my brother Gaddafi in Luero, even as an NRM, the work he's doing there. I think that we need to start looking more at the individual constituencies and how the races are shaping up.
There's something we cannot ignore. One, the strength of the Democratic Party in the Greater Massacre, because you've been analyzing Uganda. But also, something to note, as much as it's not a political party, that you cannot think that PLU and whatever is going on is all innocent, that they will not field candidates.
You see,
they might field candidates that are in the NRM, but their loyalty lies with General Mosqueni.
You see, Canary, when you go to when Cairo goes to Sunday school and sings very well, they say, hey, Mtabani wa Canary. PLU is going to find its formation within the NRM. So if you're giving credit to PLU, count those numbers in the box for the NRM. That's why I'm saying that the absolute majority in the House will go to the NRM. And what new frontiers are there? For example, the opposition party is opening. A district, Arua City, for example, I strongly believe that a strong NUP candidate would have taken that constituency in the last election. That was something very little, no contestation about. The city woman MP seat under normal circumstances of Arua, for example, should have gone to the opposition. There was a time when we had Cassiano Wadri, Christine Abia, Alex Onzima. The entire Greater Arua, not just the small one, was blue, right? During Dr. Besige's, the height of Dr. Besige, there was a time when the entire Teso sub-region swept all the NRM MPs except, I think, Musa Ichwero and Captain Mike Mukula. And actually, Mukula first went. Then he came back and survived the second wave. There were those moments when outside the central region, the opposition, for example, the Acholi sub-region, it still has, in Amoro, no, it has 100% in Amoro, for example. But then the people that we grew up knowing as the identities of the FDC in the north, my brother Martin Ojara Mapenduzi is coordinating PLU. That shows you that the movement
Regan
towards
Okumu is now a businessman.
Regan Okumu is who used to be the most powerful politician in the Acholi sub-region is now. I only see my elder Professor Ogenga Latigo when you host him. Other than that, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's up to. Cassiano Wadri occasionally appears at functions of the ANT. I don't feel his boots on the ground in Arua. Neither is he in Terego. And the yellow bus is shouting everywhere. First, you come with, let's give it to the guys who have, first of all, I think we should credit everybody who has actually dared to take on General Museveni. Before we even call them jokers or anything, let's give credit to them, because even just waking up here and announcing that I'm going to challenge General Museveni, you deserve a pat on the back.
Even Katumba.
Just give Katumba a pat on the back. Canary, I dare you to come here and say, and finally I want to conclude. I dare you to even just get the guts. Let me tell you this. I tell this story. There was a time when General Tumwine was hunting for me because of what my brother Solana used to call journalistic bad manners. You'll pick a story that you know is going to annoy the powers that me, I'd go for it. So I did a story, and General Tumwine had looked for me. So when I see him coming, I would balance. They had told me that he had challenges with vision on one side. So every time I saw him, I would go to that side because I'd mastered it. So one day I was with the Honorable Frank Tumwebaze. So the minister says, Sabit, I said, where is he coming? So he took me to his office. And here is the very interesting experience. As I was walking into the office, he was in front of me, and I was right behind. As I was walking in, 3 soldiers came in front of me and stopped me. Then he stood the other side and laughed at me. Then he said, okay, you leave him now. Now that was point number 1, that chief, we can actually stop you. So when I walked in, he told me, Sabit, you see, I want you to do 2 things. 1, I wanted to avoid extremism. He thought that I was drifting towards the opposition at that time. Said, you see, you should learn from me. I was so extremist that even if I said the right thing, people say, Oyo Tumwine, no one listens to me, which I thought was quite a candid assessment of himself. Then number 2, he said, for us in the NRA, we know where we have been, we know where we are going, and we know that we are still around. And he said, I am talking about NRA, not this confused NRM of the Tumwebazes. So that's the first time I realized that there was NRA and then the NRM. These guys came. I don't think they have a departure plan anytime soon. They want to stay. Now the conversation has even moved to the descendants of the revolution. Yes, there was a time when the biggest story in this country was PLU. Not NUP, not DP, not UPC. Canary, how many stories did you read in the headlines about PLU around that time? So the conversation even shifted from the alternative government to the point that we are now looking at an alternative.
The children of the revolution.
Inside, not just the children of the revolution. The conversation about transition is inside the house of Yoweri.
Okay. Sabit, many thanks for that insight. Solomon will, he comes from Buganda, will say, Bajanga Bamazeko. Is that the word? But Joe, let me bring in here. How do you see 2026 shaping? For a young voter like yourself, I don't know they participated in...
Joel, do you actually vote?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But you're eligible. You're eligible, nevertheless. But for a young voter like you, when you look, you represent millions out there. When you come to a platform like this, you look at, for example, how people appeal to people like you or myself. The Soranjas perhaps will be in their offices chilling and analyzing things. Will be there to make sure that this country at least gets whatever it deserves. But do you think honestly that you'll have different players on the ballot in 2026?
Certainly, yes. Like I said, history is fraught with new possibilities, discontinuities and ruptures. Certainly, yes. The National Unity Platform, I think, whatever shell will have remained of it, will be on the ballot. I don't know whether Dr. Kizza Besigye will be, but I think Besigye has matured past that point where you think that the ballot will do anything. I think Besigye is looking for a credible ally, one with the vigor, energy, zest, and stamina with whom to pattern in this election, as he searches for those which I call revolutionary moments. But I think the country is changing. Other positions apart from the president are changing. New voices are emerging. People without a platform yesterday now are the leading people. And for example, thanks to social media, new organic and peasant intellectuals are emerging, like Full Figures, they're really setting discourse.
Did you say full figure?
Yeah, they're really
Intellectual.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're really setting discourse. I know you guys elites love down-looking these people, but for me, they're my people with whom I fraternize and look at the country. I see new discourses shaping up.
And there's a reason why they have thousands of followers.
Yes, it's
Even
because
though everyone looks at them and
and frowns.
Yeah.
You know, they're creating for us new discourse, new possibilities, new ways of thinking, and perhaps new ways of mobilization. Because I think that the full figures were the first people to, because people who have challenged Museveni have challenged him usually on his terms, mostly produced by him. Their peers, elite, and all things like that. So their ranks they are willing not to cross. There are laws they cannot take. And I think full figure for me in the 2021 election, before it emerged, was the first intellectual to come out and strongly oppose. I mean, using all crass language. I mean,
we can say first mobilizer. When you say first intellectual,
yeah, for me, I think she's a peasant intellectual.
No, you actually remove the word peasant. I think that the standards for intellect have been redefined. Also, where Sultans speak a lot of English are extremely inconsequential when in the equation of numbers. Because if you put me and full figure anywhere on Kampala Road, nobody will follow me.
I don't think intellectuals really seek to have followership. I think for them, what is important is how their ideas
minus influence. What intellectual are you?
The power of ideas.
It says
like
things
me,
differently.
I seek to find
Ideas with
clarity and not reputation.
Ideas with no consequence.
I think that ideas are more powerful than just seeking. But go on, Joe.
I mean, the other candidate that I was looking out for in the 2021 election was Dr. Nyanzi. Imagine what Dr. Nyanzi would be doing right now in Parliament. Of course, should not be in these side shows of legislative agenda. I mean, that's a big joke of, wearing suits and things like that. Like my friend Yusuf Serenkuma always says, "Bagay engule bajifunada." For them, this is the biggest moment. It's a crowning moment. It's a way to get money, get deals,
They arrived.
and things like that. Yes. So, and that is why maybe Mpuga is holding a mirror against them to say, "Yeah, this is what we truly are."
Yeah.
Service awards, things of that sort.
But
traveling.
let me draw you to something. PLU.
Yeah.
And the appointment of General Mhoz Kainerugaba, the patron of PLU, as CDF, and knowing exactly what the role of the military has been in the electoral processes.
Will it change under General Mhoz Kainerugaba? No, but maybe it will be better prepared than 2021. Because in 2021, what happens is that police is not prepared, and I don't think that after Kale Kaihura, police has gotten the zeal, the steeple that it had in the previous election, or the kind of intelligence. So across Museveni's long 500-year tenure and reign, like Nelson said, there have been intelligence officers that take the shine at a particular point in time. Under Kaihura, it was the police. Under Muhwezi, it was ISO, wherever he was. So I don't think that the military, of course the military will have a place, but I don't know which office at that point in time, because 2 years is a very long time. And history is fraught with discontinuities.
We can even see a new political figure emerging.
Who's this? We can even see a new political figure emerging.
Right.
But for me, the PLU, for me, the PLU, what it has done,
You can have a Mr. Chisemakula lead the opposition.
Yes, actually, we need someone like that, someone not confined to this suit and tie.
Right.
When Bobi Wine became too comfortable with this political party, I think he lost something. We needed those guys who were wearing jackets, those guys who did not care about a legislative agenda, did not care to respond to statements by the Prime Minister, no. Like, Kalundi Sarimaga put up an interesting column in the Monitor. I said, Parliament itself is a bribe. At the moment you join Parliament, you join these formal bureaucratic procedures. Oh my goodness!
Subject to rules of procedure,
subject to
the
whatever.
constitution.
Yes, of course. Then surely you must surrender.
You must conform.
Yeah,
Right.
you must conform. It's
Thanks.
a compromise.
Thanks, Joe. Solomon, for over the years that you've covered politics,
The man has a question.
No.
for over the years that you've covered politics and the conversations you continue to have even outside the newsroom with your show hard questions, honestly, if you're to be honest with yourself, do you see anything changing with 2026? Or it's more of the same?
I think President Museveni will be president. I mean, it's written in black and
Remove the I
white.
think.
Let me, but let me tell you
What,
what,
the man
I see as
should
a
crown
builder.
him already?
But I see as a builder. Firstly, as we build up to
But
2026,
do you see the risk that with what narrative you choose to go with?
It's the system and the structures that the president has put in place to retain himself in power. Let me just give you some perspective. Right now, the National Unity Platform, let me start with the NRM party. The National Resistance Movement Party is beginning to reconstruct itself as and going back to the grassroots and removing the dissenting voices, the PLU you talked about. What the president is very, very clear, and you can fault him for everything, but President Museveni is a politician, 311. So what does he do? He says that there are grumblings within the National Unity Platform. There's the PLU forming. There's Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is my son, who is saying it's time, you old people, your time is up. It's time for us young people to take over power. What does he do? Silence that division, the PLU, appoints Muhoozi Kainerugaba as the as the CDF. And as a CDF, you're quiet. You're not going to be seen as a CDF getting actively involved in politics. Then gives Balaam his top soldiers into into cabinet, and therefore silences them as well. And then you have some of the remaining members of the PLU in parliament who are also going to now realign to the National Resistance Movement Party. As we go ahead, the National Resistance Movement is going to solidify its support. I know after the elections, they become disorganized, but towards the elections, Tango Doi is going to take full ownership. The Secretariat is going to be more funded. They are going to go back to the National Resistance Movement Party politics and try to galvanize support as the NRM. And that's the same thing that the National Unity Platform needs to do right now. This is why I'm saying Dr. Kizza Besigye's return to active politics is going to be to solidify the Forum for Democratic Change and go out and reawaken that giant in the FDC, if it still exists, and try to mobilize support at grassroots level as Forum for Democratic Change. The National Unity Platform right now, Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, and the divisions within the National Unity Platform right now need to be sorted as fast as possible so that they also get down into grassroots mobilization so that they can get everyone together. The mistake that the president is not going to do this time, and I give you I don't know, but my suspicion is
which president, the one of the council or the one for NUP? Okay.
President Museveni learned that when he harassed Bobby Wine, it gave him a lot of popularity and prominence, and it built the party very strongly. Every one of us was angry at the way Robert Chagulanyi was treated, beaten to pulp, arrested. All of us started to get that anger. Even when we are not involved in active politics, we're like, you can't do that to a human being. And that, in a way, built Bobby Wine's popularity. And his move and his movement that has kept him politically alive is pushing back against human rights violations, disappearances, arrest of political prisoners, and that persecution of those people. It has kept him politically alive, and it's been his messaging out there. The moment President Museveni decides to say, do not beat people, do not arrest Bobby Wine, do not just leave him, that will further weaken it will further weaken the National Unity Platform. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if he just decides to say, let the man be, the National Unity Platform then now will need to look for another strong selling messaging that they're going to sell to Ugandans. Is it economic empowerment? Is it improving our...
What haven't they said?
That's what I'm saying.
They haven't said nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what Serwanja is saying. Give the man space. He speaks empty.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm just... I'm just saying.
He has reminded me about an interview here when my brother Solomon Serwanja was interviewing him at the height of the Rwanda-Uganda standoff. So Solo asked him, if you became president of Uganda, how would you handle the Rwanda-Uganda conflict? What would define your foreign policy? And then we all know what happened back end after that question.
Yeah, but no, what I'm just trying to say, Joseph, what I'm just trying to say is that if the National Unity Platform right now needs to concentrate on building its... I'm glad, I was so happy, as opposed to what Joe was saying, that they presented an alternative budget, right? Because they have to produce an alternative policy framework.
Why?
They have
To account,
they have
to account for the budget they receive?
not really,
No, not really.
but to show that this is how
We want to run.
propose
If
the
we
No,
country
but
to
also-
run.
Yes,
But
and then
this
what?
is-
And then what?
You may not want to take it as a government, but you have to produce an alternative. For example, the National Platform, as the biggest political opposition party, needs to present alternative views on everything, from policy
That's
to
true.
economics to state of foreign affairs in the foreign affairs, internal affairs, because it is a government
Solo,
in
that one
waiting.
is done in the
No,
house.
he's him.
The one
Pro-
of the
proceed.
one that Joel was
That's
talking
a
about
correct
is-
bit.
No, I'm saying
uh.
the one Joel is talking about is the one where you come in a conference hall and invite people and spend some money and things like that. Under the law in our public finance management act, actually in the house, every shadow minister actually presents a counter. That's the one Joel laughs at and says it's a
But you
joke.
see, Joseph, that's what I'm
I
saying.
wasn't
that,
given an
but-
opportunity.
Let the man proceed. He's going to the right path.
I wasn't. I wanted
Be
to get
careful
to-
when Kapo says you're right.
I'm just trying to be as objective as I can.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, Canary, that what the National Unity Platform needs to do right now to galvanize its support
is
ahead.
produce more alternatives.
No. It's first of all to present itself as an alternative government in waiting. There are elites like me who would love to hear what is the alternative budget framework paper looking like. And I'm glad that Joel now is also doing that. I think Mpuga also did well at his tenure as leader of opposition. Would love to hear what is your say on our foreign policy? What is your say on our economic?
The response to the state of the nation.
What's your response? Core, like deep, so that we go beyond just the politicking. I think that this country needs to grow beyond just the politicking to get to issue-based politics. That we do not just go, vote umbrella, vote the bus, vote that. But what are the alternative policies that you present to us? What is your, right now,
So,
if
Solomon,
you
let
went
me
and
ask you.
asked any NOP person, including MPs, what the NOP manifesto is,
Does it matter?
do they even know about the NOP manifesto?
Solomon, let
If
me
you
ask
went
you.
and asked President Museveni, the yellow camp, what is Museveni's manifesto? Few people. When
Solomon.
elections come in, it is more of vote yellow, vote umbrella, vote this. But can we grow beyond that to
Solomon,
go
let me
to
ask you.
issue-based politics?
Okay, so you develop an alternative budget framework paper, and the question is, and then what?
Present it.
And then what?
At least, look, if there
A
is an
human
if there's-
rights-based approach to the budget, and you are probably 13 trillion shillings lower, and then what?
present that budget.
And then what?
Let us see that
Canary.
actually
The
there's
government
something.
can
For me,
pick
that's why I
something.
think that
No,
we
no,
should
no,
go-
Canary. Canary, let's go back to the idea of universal primary education. Where did it come from?
It was an alternative budget.
It was Dr. Besige's alternative. Wasn't it implemented?
No,
But it
no,
was
the point
seen.
you're
What I'm
making-
trying to say
Gentlemen,
is that
let's take a break.
at least be seen to present.
No break yet.
I only wish I could broadcast what has been in this commercial break. Quite interesting to see. But look, $500 million shillings is what has been suggested to be given to the Auditor General currently serving and who will be retiring in 3 months. But that's not a problem. What Ugandans are asking is if you choose to give service awards on top of other benefits of retirement, he's going to be having a house fully furnished, he's going to be having a driver and a car, he's going to be having maintenance for this car and fuel for it, but on top of that he's going to be receiving 100% salary for his retirement, 100%. Exactly the same salary. Whoever replaces him in his shoes and will be serving as Auditor General, he received the same salary while he is in retirement. But that's okay. The man has served the country since 2001. The question is, aren't we as a country setting a costly precedent with these service awards? That's a question this morning. Gentlemen, Nelson, let me begin with you.
So, I have my father is a teacher. He was one of the pioneers of UPE education. He retired about 4 years ago with other colleagues of his. There's no service award. The award is pension. I have a friend who is a nurse here in Mulago, and another nurse friend of mine. We rarely meet each other. They are so busy, even on public holidays. They are serving this country so much. What is their service award? Nothing. These service awards are going to distort. We are going to create what they call highway robbers, where Canada joins the Attorney General's office or joins the Auditor General's office tomorrow. 5 years later, he's out and saying 500 million. We are removing what they call structure. We have the NSSF. We have the pension.
And retirement benefits.
And retirement benefits. These are supposed to serve the purpose. And also, a man who has actually served for 21 years should have prepared for his retirement. He should not go rich at the expense of taxpayers. So if everybody now starts, because that's where we're going.
Nelson, I think you're being unfair to John Mwanga. The man has served, and let me say this, his reports, his damning reports, have been very pivotal and fundamental in how this country is run. We know that every time we're referring to the Auditor General's report.
Very well. But it is also an honor to serve your country. We have been preaching about patriotism. Where do you define the honor to serve? The president is, Joel has problems when I quote the President Museveni. The president has been clear. Patriotism. Patriotism. It should be an honor to serve your country.
Even his sons,
and the way I know Mwanga. Mwanga is a clean guy. His one was given a government car. He put it in the parking
and chose to drive his
Pajero. I want to imagine his cleanness will come out again. And what will he do? He may turn down the service award. But that's not the point. Look at the people moving these service award proposals. Joseph said there are people who are not coming back, like Nandala Mafavi. They are planning to be presidents. They are the ones proposing the service award. Therefore, they are setting us into a trap that now, when the term of office is getting done for MPs, they can also ask for a service award. And since we have regularized it, we have given it the sanity it requires, 500 million for everyone going out. But who is going to keep taking the burden of our leaders? The country is awarding leaders for no service. We have a population that needs a service. That's where the money should go. We have people who need to be given service awards here. There's a man who arrested the assailants who chased over the Ndiga clan guy. That man arrested assailants.
He should be given a service award.
Why isn't he given? Those are the people who deserve a service award.
I like that.
Those are the people. This country should realize that leaders do not build this country. The people who are down here build the country. The doctors build the country. The producers in different factories build the country. The different transporters of products build the country. The nurses, the teachers. These are the people supposed to get service awards. But what are you giving them? Medals.
But you're the ones who give medals.
No, it's not in ours.
It's a whole committee.
It's a whole committee. But these are the people supposed to get service awards.
Right. Thanks.
So,
thanks, Nelson.
In my own view, I want to tell the people here, what is going to happen? When we start giving these service awards, the youth of this country, we are going to get this country when it has no ingredients to make a national cake. They will have taken all the ingredients, the icing sugar, what. Service award? No.
Thank you. And I like to see the disagreement between Plot 1 in Tebe and Parliamentary Avenue.
That's why
honestly,
I wanted him to take all the time and tell us.
Sabit, the question is, should there be even like a sort of a gauge for service to one's country? I believe as a pioneer, pupil, student for UPE, I've also served this country. As a journalist, I think I've also served. But I'm not even asking for service award, and I'm not even trying to justify it. What I'm saying is, if the man has served since 2001, let him get his service award. I mean, he's old and frail, and most probably will enjoy this and forever. But also, this could also motivate the deputies that have been serving with him.
A conversation about money in this country happens in the context of emotions. the economic hardships, the post-COVID, the challenges that the country faces, the potholes that we drive over. In Kampala, I'm lucky to drive on a pothole. When I go to my village, if it rains, I can't move. The roads in Zombo are so bad that I can't move. I think that this conversation happens in that context. But there are two things. One, the Auditor General is an officer of Parliament. And actually, the Administration of Parliaments Act places the responsibility of remunerating, taking care of, and defining service terms for officers of Parliament on Parliament. You can disagree with the amount, you can disagree with the concept, but it was in the wisdom of Parliament. John Mwanga, Mzee John Mwanga, has done a distinguished. It's not that he's being given that award because he has been Auditor General. There's a feeling that he has done beyond he has gone beyond the call of duty. He has done much more than an Auditor General would do. He has done it with distinction. That's the context of that. But also, it's not a random figure.
Who determines the distinction?
No. I mean,
And that's what I asked, that do we need a gauge, a meter?
you see, there are two things.
to
The
determine
responsibility.
what sort of service has been more important than-
Let me clear this. When the Presidential Awards Committee decides to give heroes medals with nothing, that determination is made by that committee that reports to the President.
True.
If Parliament decides that they will award their officers, then Parliament becomes the entity to determine that. For
Right.
me, what I think is that there should be a general principle in the country about conversation. It should not be restricted at the top.
At the top.
But we should have a general, for example, the 500 million for John Mwanga, the Honorable Jonathan Odur actually came out with a proper calculation and said this amount of money for this
each
amount
month.
of year, no, for every year served. And that's how it came to that amount. We can, without, many times this conversation
But
gets
why
lost.
don't you give him a medal or a certificate?
And Arubare Medo.
Kapo, that bad manners of calling people
Sabit,
hero. Let us
Sabit,
respond
from
to
where
this.
you sit at
Yes.
Parliamentary Avenue, the
Yeah.
thing is, I even have a feeling that you're trying to pass this service award to justify Mpuga's 500 million shillings. And let's even run away from that. Do you understand what Parliament is doing, that it's setting a very bad precedent, and not just bad, but also extremely expensive? I'll serve in whatever capacity as a clerk. I'll demand for 1 billion shillings.
John
service
Mwanga
award.
didn't demand.
What I'm saying is, you might not have
I am
to
saying,
demand
yes,
officially.
I am here.
There will always be well-wishers, the Nandalas, who see
I am
you and
saying
they
it.
say,
I am
let's
saying-
give Sabit.
No, listen.
What I'm
I
saying
am
is that
say-
this precedent is so costly that I do not think that my money as a taxpayer should be going into that.
You see, Canary, this country is very interesting. I told you that the context in which we are having this conversation is the reality of our time. And for me, when everyday Ugandans express anger, express discontent, express disapproval with actions of Parliament, it actually means they're holding their Parliament accountable. The responsibility from where I sit is to listen to those views, maybe to reform future legislation and how things are done. But I am saying, good, bad, ugly, as whatever way you describe it, in the
Right.
wisdom of Parliament, Mzee John Mwanga deserved to be recognized, and not with metals like the Kapos give, but with something substantive.
But
you talk
but Sabit, I
Yes.
mentioned something in my intro, and this
Yes.
is it. One, he's going to be given a car. This car will be with a driver. This car will be with fuel. This car will be with maintenance fee. He's going to be given a furnished house. He's going to be given a salary in his retirement until he dies. 100% equivalent to the serving Auditor General, which means he'll still maintain his salary. He'll be given medical care that is sufficient of an officer of his rank. This 500 million shillings for what?
No, and housing allowance, you've missed it.
Yes, and housing allowance,
A house
yes.
fully furnished.
Fully furnished.
So let's step back.
And the state barrier.
Let's step back, Canary, and ask:
That's dirty.
Have you? Who was the Chief Justice before Bart Katurewe?
Odoki.
Odochi.
Do you know where he is?
He's around.
He had
I mean-
something in East Africa.
He had some. You can't even place to it.
What's your point?
You can't, I
There
am
was something about East African Federation, really. He had something. The last I talked to him.
to the point that Joel, who follows current affairs, who is very informed, cannot place where our immediate
Sabit,
second.
what's your point?
No, listen to me. Justice Benjamin Odoki can't be placed. But I am sure you know where the Honorable Bart Katurebe is. You have met him with
He's
his,
heading some upper land thing also.
you have met him with his convoy
But
on
we
the
should not
streets.
suffer
I am
Odochi's
saying,
poor planning methods.
Poor retirement.
I am,
He
the
had
point-
no
the
plan,
point-
so
no,
it is-
the point I'm making is this, that people who have served, you might disagree with the approach Parliament has taken, right, for your reasons, but I'm saying we should have an honest conversation about taking care of the people who have served
Who have
this country
served.
with distinction. It could be, I agree with you that it shouldn't just be
Yeah.
Kapo because he has worked at State House, but we should find a better way of, we could apply that method across the board to teachers, doctors, and medics, the people who serve this country with distinction. For me, I agree with the principle. The details and what we can disagree,
And
but
the
the
best
principle.
way is the NSSF, Social Security Fund, for such people.
In
They
fact,
go when they have
with the
money.
salary they have, they must
They
be
have a
having
huge
such a
fund.
hefty
But,
sum.
but I wish.
But
just-
thanks, Joseph.
Can I say
Unfortunately,
this
we're
in
out
10
of time.
Can I say this in 10 seconds?
Yeah.
I wish these views that Kapo brings here, he also takes it back. Because the conversation about the budget of where he works is even worse than the one of Parliament.
Kapo doesn't sit in
As a-
cabinet.
No, but
No,
as a
no, no,
matter of
inside
fact,
State House.
have you ever seen a service award for a State House employee? The
Not-
president
not-
does not give.
No,
Oh,
I'm
no.
saying the conversation
Oh, no.
about-
There's
the
a
conversation about
retirement
the budget
benefit.
of State House.
There's a retirement benefit of 1 billion shillings for each and every president that has served this country.
The president is the president, the fountain of honor.
See,
Jo-
But
the
the rest of
Auditor
us-
General
Joel.
will tell you he's Auditor General.
Thanks, gentlemen. Joe, let me bring you in
Give
here.
us a break.
You know, Kapo says that we should indeed reflect on really the number of people that have served this country. It's an honor for the Auditor General to serve this country. After all, he's getting this salary and his NSF should be a hefty sum. But also, most importantly, the number of benefits that follow him as soon as he retires, which will be in the next 3 months. Why a service award? Are we trying to sanitize something that we might regret later?
I think for the moment we should lose the trees to capture the forest. This conversation comes in place to remind us of social policy, social protection, because I think the wisdom that, quote-unquote wisdom that Parliament has, quote-unquote, is to say that this person, you don't want this person to be suffering on the streets of Kampala, making triangular pancakes, like Kapo said. So, yes, so for me, it raises questions in the grand scheme of things, questions about social policy and social protection, not of only the Auditor General, but all people of Uganda.
Yes.
But also, most importantly, why I think that, like Kalundi Serimaga told us, Parliament is a bribe, is these judges, and you would see this culture is going to crop up, because judges also, especially Supreme Court judges, get 100% of their salary in retirement. Court of Appeal, 80%. Court of Appeal, Constitutional Court, 80%. The same applies to High Court judges. The PJ also gets 100% of his salary. So the judiciary, within the Constitution, there is no remuneration. Such remuneration after. So they had to do this through an act of Parliament, the Administration of Judiciary Bill. So because judges don't have a trade union, how would they lobby Parliament for this? It means that judges gave something for something.
Quid pro quo.
Yes, quid pro quo. What did they give the president for them? Because the act is passed on the eve of Bart Katurebe leaving as Chief Justice. So what did the judges do? How did they lobby? And this lobbying must have been, you give something for something. What was big that the judges gave off for the president to appeal this?
Maybe
And now
Kapo
even
knows.
prosecutors are beginning that
This
conversation.
man might know.
No.
So even prosecutors are beginning that conversation. Because for me, I found it very discriminatory. Why is the judge being given that? A doctor does as much work. You don't have to be esoteric speaking Latin maxims that are empty for very many people to have this money and taxpayers. Remember, judges come over time, they retire, but all those go onto this national budget. And that goes onto our public administration wage bill. So what did they do? So that makes me wonder, what did Mwanga do for Parliament?
Yes.
Because I'm very suspicious, especially of people being praised by everyone in the media. I just know that this praise, because I just know that this person must be in some way sophisticated, because you can't be clean and work in government. You can't be doing everything right. I don't mean to say that the Honorable Mwanga is dirty, but I mean I'm just so suspicious of things that appear to be clean, especially things with...
Especially if you have members of parliament suggesting not just 500 million, they just passed, but 1 billion.
Yeah, they began with 1 billion. So what is being hidden by this? But also most importantly, Uganda prides itself as I see the president rehashing some old school economics all the time. He has this poverty census called the parish development model. So they pride themselves as a developmental state. If it's a developmental state, how much is it thinking in terms of social policy and in terms of social protection? Because when you look at that NSSF, big numbers of people, but many people don't have as much as 10 million at the age of retirement. And when Parliament is discussing this, their biggest clause is, at what age do you lose? And that's what they fight over. Perhaps even the Sombusas on their tables as they're in these committees. So for me, the Mwanga issue raises questions of social policy and social protection.
Okay.
And the implications for that for our development. Because if you look at countries like South Africa, of course, pension funds have not been handled well. The biggest malls in South Africa are constructed from pension fund money. And especially in poor countries like these ones, pension funds have a lot of money. Just look at the money NSSF has. But how much is NSSF thinking of the average person? Not Nelson Kapo, but the average person. Because if you go to the houses, if you go to the houses they constructed in Loboa, they are for the Nelson Kapos. Their cheapest house is $200 and I think $10,000. Queen NSSF has that money. Oh my goodness, they are also ugly. So
They're ugly.
yeah. So how much are we thinking in terms of social policy? How much is where Sabiti works? Are they thinking of social policy?
Okay.
But also,
Thanks, Joe.
this is a bribe.
Okay, you choose to look at it that way. Quite interesting. So much. 500 million shillings.
One of these days,
And the figures become so iconic.
let me tell you something. One of these days, I think Ugandans have taken in enough. One of these days, people are going to rise on these streets of Kampala and across the country, in Gulu, everywhere. And little things like those can have very, very big consequences to that.
Because way smaller things like
Because
bread
led governments to
led
fall.
Yeah.
I think that Ugandans are hurting. They are hurting because the speaker and the deputy speaker bought themselves cars of 2.6 billion shillings. They are hurting because former speakers were actually given cars. Remember the car saga? All that is part of the taxes that we pay. They are hurting because of the inflated budget for President Museveni. They are also hurting because Parliament, in its wisdom, stands out to do anything they want, and no one is supposed to question it or touch it because it's Parliament. Someone stands and says, I propose that we give the Honorable Mwanga 1 billion shillings. And then the finance minister, who hasn't even looked at how much we have in the coffers, says, no, Honorable Mafabi, let's reduce it to 500 million. We're just doing everything we want, everything Parliament wants, they just do. I would love us to focus our attention on where this money comes from that we just dish away. But because as Ugandans, there's nothing we can do, and we have people who actually decide for us, even without consulting us, they sit in that house and make very crazy decisions. They pass very crazy laws. Look at the different retirement benefits. I'm not all against retirement benefits and all that. But at what end? Joel was talking about how we retired the Chief Justice. We're talking about how we're retiring the Auditor General. Before you know, we'll have the Attorney General's retirement bill. Before you know it, we'll have all these people. But to what end? As we speak, this country is sometimes broke. You've heard Ramadan Gobi complaining that we don't have money.
Yeah, the economics that works.
You've had Ramadan Gobi and Matia Kasaija saying, commercial banks, where are you? Come and give us money. We are having traders demonstrating downtown Kampala because of the tax regimes. We are getting money from all of us through taxes. URA is doing everything it can to collect taxes. And MPs in their wisdom decide to say, let's buy the speaker and the deputy speaker cars of 2.6 billion. They're our leaders. They're the third in command. We have to take care of them. They decide to say, okay, let's give the commissioners 1.7 billion service award for the former leader of opposition.
The retired speakers.
They say, well,
Cars.
let's give retired speakers, they have done well. Cars. Knowing very well, for example, the Honorable Kadaga Rebecca is currently the Minister for East African Affairs. She has a car. The Honorable Kadaga left with a car. The Honorable Kadaga has also been given another car.
But also
The
has,
Vice President
has I think 80% of the side of the Deputy Speaker and then one of the Speaker.
Exactly, because she's a former speaker. The former Vice President, Edward Chiwanuka Sekandi, has retirements for a Vice President, has
Speaker.
served as a speaker. He also got CAS.
He's an advisor now.
He's now an advisor.
But it's
who
in the
also
law.
gets an which is what I'm saying.
It's in the law
Parliament
that
sits.
the subject is passed.
No,
Parliament
no, no, no,
sits.
no.
Not
That law was
subject.
passed by the Kadaga
Parliament
administration.
sits, and I'm talking
No.
about the institution of Parliament.
That was
They
Kadaga's
sit
time.
and pass everything the way they feel like. Tebagambwako. We're not to say anything. We're not supposed to say anything as Parliament in its wisdom.
Okay.
We have decided to do this. We have decided to do that. One of these days, Ugandans will be very angry and agitated about what's going on.
Seriously.
And they'll get out of their camp. Ugandans are camp people, generally. But I think they can only take in so much. And I think we are taking in so much.
The nose
One
has
of
been
these
pressed
days-
too much.
Yes, one of these days it's going to bleed.
Okay.
And I'm not threatening. But I'm just saying, when it comes to elites like us, before it used to be the walk to work of border borders and the people. But now, when the elites begin to feel the pinch, when someone who sits at plot 1 starts to feel the pinch, then you feel
This
he's
one is
also-
feeling no pinch.
He's
Yeah.
also getting
Gentlemen,
angry.
don't let
him lie to you.
Gentlemen,
But what
unfortunately,
I'm saying,
we're
my
out of
last
time.
point, maybe
Plot
speaking
one
last
is
is the
the-
problem.
the
But let me
promoter
finish.
of
Yeah.
patriotism.
10 seconds.
This
But I
guy
am
lied to you.
saying that Parliament, we need to rise up as a country against some of the behaviors of Parliament. And to tell them,
You have
we
a-
sent you out
You
there
have a
to
chance.
represent us.
You have an election in 2026.
And, well, you can vote people in, but the whole politics
They
of
all
Parliament
they
will take over.
go
Gentlemen,
and seek
I
it.
want to thank
And
you.
Joseph, who has been on this show before, speaking like the way about you was speaking about Parliament before, you've been on the show here. Same show where I say, those people are thieves. Those people are thieves. Today, when I hear him,
Maybe the
he's
man,
soft.
maybe
He's
the
born
man
again.
Soft
No.
a bit.
Gentlemen, thank you so much
all the
for
advisors.
honoring our invitation to appear here on the NBS Media Roundtable. Honestly, you've been candid enough within your respective capacities, and I can't thank you enough. But unfortunately, we're out of time. And, well, Nelson, Tunyuke? Tunyuke?
Joseph wants to complete something.
let the records capture that the law that Seranja talks about for benefits of speakers and former speakers was not passed under the stewardship of the Right Honourable Anita Among.
We're speaking
That
about
is their
the issue.
biggest
Does it matter?
defense.
No, no, no.
Does it matter? It was
It is
still
always
Parliament.
the other person.
No,
Good morning.
Whenever they